Like whatever. Yeah, so like each subclass get also like five.
I'll write them for the end of that. Why do I probably care?
It's a like question 1.1.
Test.
What? Well, I think in last year's board, like we have to examine.
They're not letting me skip them now.
I saw that, but I think I saw that one.
Test. I was reporting my lectures.
Yeah.
One person was having a complaint that my audio quality was sort of not the
Oh,
best.
the Zoom.
Yeah, with the Zoom.
Oh,
So
okay,
this is
sure.
sort of partly why yeah, I guess the room size is not. It's not huge. Talking about the microphones because I report. Yeah, to do.
Was that the first thing? I can't talk a lot.
Okay.
I think we'll remove our mask.
Yeah, but I don't think it'll go up that much. Oh yeah.
Applying for the early researcher award.
Nothing major. I got the sense that they wanted more senior type of early researchers. So
Yeah,
it's kind
and
of,
what's the cutoff for?
I think it's like 8 years or 6 years.
And how long have you? But is it post PhD?
I think it's from the start of your
Oh, is it?
independent academic. I think that was it. But either way, it was formed in a way that it was very wide. Yeah, I talked to the research office. I'm going for RTI.
Yeah.
Thinking whether I need to go for, or whether I can go for CFI. I don't know the restrictions for that.
Talk to Dash talk about it. Yeah. CFI is pretty nice. CFI is really nice.
It's like a couple of 100,000.
500,000. Probably about 400 because 20% has to be in kind.
Oh, that's great.
Whereas RTI is like,
Yeah, I applied last year and it got rejected.
yeah.
It's basically just we
It's-
rehashed it a bit.
I've been on the review panel for it too, and it's really because there's no discussion around proposals. It's really hit and miss. Like it just depends who reviews them.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. You get given like 30 proposals to review, so I think people are doing it pretty fast, and they're just like, it's not it's not like Discovery, right? Where it's very like, yeah.
All right. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. How's everyone today? Good.
Doing. Thanks.
Oh, hi. I forgot we have people on Zoom as well. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Excellent. Okay, so welcome everyone. This week we have a more of an open format for our seminar, and it's going to be a panel discussion with Professor Clare Robinson, Professor Girma Bitsuamlak, and Professor Mohamed Zaki. And we're going to cover sort of three main areas of interest. First, talking about the career. Second, talking about specific skills, whether soft skills or technical skills. And then thirdly, we'll talk about sort of a general discussion on any other topics. Thank you to everyone who submitted questions over the last week. They've been very helpful in trying to think about really what you guys want out of this kind of discussion, what you're most curious to hear about. So we'll have an open question period after every section. So after the career section, after the talking about skills, and then at the very end, after talking about sort of more general topics. So with that, to kick off the discussion on career, I was wondering if each of our panel members would like to talk about how they, their experiences in academia, in industry, if you've been there, how you really reached Western and your thoughts on your journey.
Well, I'll just provide a background. I'll provide a background of how I ended up here. So I'm Australian and I did my undergraduate at the in environmental engineering at the University of Queensland in Australia. I did a direct entry PhD from my undergraduate just because I really enjoyed kind of the technical side of things and wanted to specialize. I then did a 2-year postdoctorate at EPFL, which is a university in Switzerland. Following and during that time, I developed more kind of mathematical modeling skills. But after that time, I wasn't really sure if academia was for me or if I wanted to move into industry or consulting or more international development work. So I actually then went and did a 12-month period with the Australian Aid Organisation, where I was in Bangladesh for 12 months working for a water supply and sanitation NGO. And in that time, my role was less technical and it was more on the side of project management. After I'd spent a year doing that, I realized I really missed the science and the technical side of things. And that's when I was recruited to work at Western. And when I initially came to Western, it was predominantly to support the civil engineering and international development program, which I am still involved with, but also I'm involved with the environmental engineering program as well. And so I've now been here for 12 years.
Thank you, Claire. Hi, everyone. Good to see so many new faces and old faces, For those of you who don't know me, I'm Girma Bitsuamlak. I'm one of the wind engineering professor here at Western. How I ended up at Western, when you work on wind, definitely Western is considered as a pillar of wind engineering, You always dream to do something here, even before I start there, how I become a civil engineer. My dad he was a carpenter, a mason, electrician, turned into a foreman, then a contractor, Throughout my life, every summer I go to his site, Then for me, it was enemy, like when I go to a college, university in Addis Ababa University, I'm originally from Ethiopia. Everybody's fighting to choose. For me, that was the easiest thing. I knew I was going to be a civil engineer, Then after I spent 5 years there, I really liked what civil engineers do, but I also felt at undergraduate level, you don't know much, you just get introduced, Then from day one, I wanted, if there was more than a PhD, I confess I would have been at school even, Luckily, the last degree you can get is PhD, So it was very small selling, But I have interchanged working in the industry and academia. Even after my first degree, I worked in a construction company. Then I went back to a college, taught. Then I went to India to do my master's. After that, I worked in the industry. Then whenever you work in the industry, there's something that comes along your way and that triggers, oh, I don't know this. I was supposed to know this. Then that triggers, oh, I have to go back to school. Then I went to do my PhD. Then after my PhD, I want to work with WDI, one of the leading wind consulting firm, I was very happy there, doing at one point, I was working on the tallest building in every continent, the tallest building in Hong Kong, the tallest building in the United States, the tallest building in the world, But in the mix of that, someone asked me about tornado, I'm a senior wind engineer in WDI doing all this kind of great stuff, but I have no clue about how to evaluate even tornadic load and things like that. Then again, that was a trigger for me, perhaps I need to do more research. And I left WDI in 2007, went to Miami, established the Hurricane Research Center. Now that houses, the Hurricane Research Center was there. I established the Wall of Wind Laboratory with my good friend Arendam. It's now a national lab, Then after working there for 5 years, my son was born and I wanted to raise him in a calm city like London, as opposed to metropolitan touristic city in Miami. And there was opportunity at Western to come as a Canada researcher, I have skipped so many details. I don't want to bore you with my life history, Then, of course, when there was opportunity at Western, I jumped at it, and it was a good fit. And I have been here since then, since 12 years ago, And I'm sure there will be other questions. I will.
Thank you, Dr. Girma. So, hi, it's Mohamed Zaki. I joined here 2 months ago, probably. So I'm new, but I'm not new to Canada. I'm not new to London. I visited here 10 years ago. So also I wanted to be a civil engineer. So I went to a school in Egypt to study civil engineering, but I read about Silicon Valley. So I decided to study computer engineering with a dream to go, Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, and all these people. But that was a long time ago. Elon Musk was just starting back then. And my dream is to go to California. And so I got an opportunity to do master's here in Concordia. And then I wanted to go back to the US. September 11 happened. So I stayed in Canada. So I decided to continue my PhD. And I got an opportunity for a postdoc at UBC in Vancouver. In computer science, which was a continuation of my work. It was a great opportunity. And then 2008 happened. So no jobs in Silicon Valley. So I was planning to move to Germany. I got a professorship there. And just a couple of months before moving, I met a professor in civil engineering. And he asked me, do you want to join me for a postdoc? I love Canada and Vancouver is beautiful. So I stayed, and it was a good opportunity for me to go back to civil engineering. Of course, everyone thought I was crazy, leaving, computing stuff, probably making a startup at the end. But I'm happy to do that. So it was a great time in Vancouver, and I got an opportunity to move to Central Florida, where I established the Smart City program there. They wanted someone who has background in computer engineering and civil. So I thought that was a call for me to go there. So I went there, but finally been to the US, but I felt homesick for 4 years. So I keep on commuting basically every month, at least twice between Canada and US. And then when there was an opportunity to come here, and the department was looking someone with a little bit of computing background and transportation for the Smart City program, I just couldn't resist. So I'm back. So I don't think about Silicon Valley anymore. I think that's the best thing that happened to me. I didn't go there. And that's the story in a nutshell. So
Thank you so much. It's always cool to learn more about your view as well from my end. I guess the first follow-up I had was pertaining specifically to Dr. Zaki, but also to the other two. This point about returning to civil engineering or wanting to stay in civil engineering? I think each of you has sort of a subspecialization. So I'm wondering if you could talk about this choice to sort of be in civil engineering as opposed to somewhere else, and what you feel like makes you enjoy and what made you make that choice.
The reason when I was doing my computing stuff, it was interesting, it's challenging, but you don't see results. It's not something you can feel. So when I realized I really like civil engineering, we were working in an intersection in Vancouver where the building, there was a bridge and they wanted to install bike lanes. And we didn't know if it will work or not. So the government, of course, politics, they just went and did it for political reasons. But we went there and developed new technologies to evaluate the safety of those new routes. And it was successful to the point that now they redesigned the whole intersection. I don't know if you've been to Burrard Bridge in Vancouver, but you'll find this intersection redesigned. And that's something I feel like this is something you feel, because based on our findings, you can see people using it more safely. So, saving lives is important, something related at least to transportation, and of course, structure and other domain and across civil. That's something you don't see much in computer. Of course, it's there. If you have a buggy system, you see many times aircrafts and other automated vehicles, they fail because of bugs. Of course, there is critical issues there, but I felt with civil, there is a human touch to it. In addition, I work in East Hastings, where there is lots of vulnerable population. And that was very important to me to see how can we help engineering-wise our brothers and sisters.
For me, perhaps it's a default, maybe, but from like civil engineering, for me, it's about improving the quality, life quality of others, For that matter, even if you ask me how you define professionalism, is just that, just you improve the quality of others, either through the research you do, through the teaching you do, through the collaborative work, and through your life, So civil engineering falls into that. But to be honest, more than the specificity of the subject matter, whatever you pick to do it in good quality, whatever is in your plate, that's the most important thing, Then as a society, what those dots, they connect into something bigger, yeah.
I mean, I guess I think of myself as an environmental engineer, or I am an environmental engineer. And for me, that's always been really important, because I do what I do to try and, I guess, improve the environment we live in, and to try to minimize our impacts of the environment, whilst, also supporting economic development and, acknowledging that the populations are growing. So yeah, I like the technical aspects of environmental engineering, but also the kind of societal and environmental benefits of the work I do.
Thank you. So I think something that, especially Clare, you sort of alluded to, is this idea between staying technical versus potentially moving more into a management role. And I was wondering, this is actually one of the questions from the audience over the last week, is how do we prepare ourselves to specify our career, to go deeper into the technical side, or to sort of gradually sort of transition to the management type of role that a lot of people end up doing in industry? Do you have any thoughts on choices to make? Or
I mean, I think it depends a lot on the person. Some people, like, I really like the technical side of things and the science, but I think for a lot of people who go into industry and go into consulting, after a certain period of time, you do kind of work more into that project manager role, which is really important for engineering projects. So I guess the more technical skills you have, so if you're a PhD student and it's really your technical expertise as it sells you, I think you're less likely to move more into the management roles. But I think it's, I mean, even for us, as we move up, to professors, we're spending a lot of time doing project management and less on the technical side of things. So I think it's inevitable, but yeah.
Yes, I think what I may add is you have to be clear what you want to do. It boils down to that. Do you want to? For me, management and that type of role is like growing horizontally. And there is also growing in depths. Like technically, do you want to be that person that you contribute significantly in your technical knowledge by accumulating depths? For example, those of you are doing PhD studies, you pick a problem, you go to deep, and you solve problem deeply. Not only you solve that, but you pick the know-how, how to solve things deeply, and you apply that template to solve other problems. Some of you, like maybe you go in parallel, you pick the business aspect, you pick the project management aspect, and both are important, based on your character, your ambition, what makes you happy, you pick one and you develop either laterally or horizontally, but don't, what I see, especially with some of the young students, they take too much time to figure out what they want to do than doing that thing, and that just figure out what you want and stick to it, and both are useful, but identify which one you want to do.
It's very hard to add anything here. Just, follow your passion. But definitely, if you're curious, I guess technical might be on the side of careers that you'd like to take. If you'd like, if you have a business, business-wise, like ambitious, and definitely management might be the best option. As Dr. Girma said. Very much I believe.
Thank you very much. So one last question on career before we move to open questions on the topic. I think especially since the pandemic, there's been a greater interest in people becoming sole consultants in this idea that you work only for yourself on projects that you want. So I was wondering if you could talk about, any of you, about potentially how one becomes or takes over such a role in becoming an independent consultant rather than working for a company or working for a specific boss.
I think one thing COVID made us realize is, to really dig deep and realize, I hear many people, they leave the job and they don't come back. They figure out without that job, they can do so many other interesting things. Now companies have shortage. Likewise, from a researcher perspective, it emboldened us to take some initiative, like, for example, a consultant role or things like that. But even if you want to do that, I think you need to have acquired, experience. My advice to those souls, when you come out from school, if you are the only one, I like to be in the middle of the spectrum, where I can deliver and where I gain experience, especially in technical type of work, experience is important, whether it is a research experience or technical experience or managerial experience, I think that's important. Then once you equip yourself with that, I think maybe you will hire us, keep doing that,
That's true. The experience is important, and a complementary thing we don't think about as engineers is soft skills. I guess it will come later on, but also marketing ourselves. I didn't know the value of that, but my wife, she's working in marketing, and she thought I was doing a horrible job marketing myself. And she's right, actually. So, but when I look now at my friends and colleagues, same thing. I try to coach them. I'm not good yet, but I guess we have to focus as engineers how to not sell, not oversell, but actually marketing is different than selling. And we try to create, we have to show value what we're doing. We have to be in the right place, talking to the right people, and be patient, right? That's my take on that.
So at this point, are there any questions from the audience on the topic of careers? How we can think about where do we want to go in life? Any questions? Yes.
Oh, thanks, my professor, for bringing that. I really like that technical aspect of learning. So my question is, when someone wants to be a director of a company, big company of a, for example, in wastewater treatment engineering or wind engineering, so we have technical knowledge for sure. But to be a manager or director of that sector, what other qualities we need to be developed so that we can be successful in that area?
I mean, I think you never know where your career is going to take you, but I think all the way along the way, whether, you're a student or you're a new faculty or, you're moving up the chain, I think it's always important to continue developing all your softer skills, because that's what you need in addition to your technical skills to taking on those more management style roles and taking opportunities that are given to you. So for instance, there's like masters and PhD students, there's opportunities for you in leadership, in management, in communication, and it's good to take advantage of those opportunities all the way along the way. And then over time, you kind of build a lot of the experience that's needed to then kind of move into those higher up roles.
I think Claire covers the most important aspect. Again, the directorship roles, it depends what kind of directorship. Some companies are heavily technical. Then your technical knowledge perhaps is a key ingredient to take that leadership. But majority of the time, most of the problems we solve, they are not solved by 1%, 2%. You need to put skills. That's why you need to be excellent in soft skills, teamwork, management, business. Some people, even in our faculty, they are amazing when it comes to handling their resources, money, funding, and everything. Some others are amazing in bringing ideas and things like that. Some others are excellent technical writers. By the way, when we keep saying soft skill, you should not underestimate it. Knowing the technical know-how is only 50% of it. How you present it to a person that doesn't have that idea, how you communicate it clearly is important. Both in what you write, what you talk, what you present, what you design, that aspect I cannot emphasize. The presentation, we as a technical person, usually we oversimplify it, but it is important. You are, for example, I have a duty to explain complex wind process for someone who doesn't have a clue about wind, and I have to win the interest, so that I keep doing the projects and getting that, then you have to really think, who your audience is, what kind of technique you deploy and things like that, So the first thing is to acknowledge that. Then in our university, actually, since even I joined, there are so many opportunities while you are here where you can flourish, entrepreneurship, leadership, technical writing, even the teaching training. Ashraf, what is the teaching available?
Teaching assistant?
Yes. No, the teaching support center. That, yes. So while you are doing your technical stuff, adventure into acquiring those skills as well. And one day they will come in handy.
I think you mentioned everything.
Thank you so much to all of you. Any other questions on career? No? Okay, well, I think we pivoted very well into talking about skills. And one of the main points was to talk about soft skills. So I'm thank you very much for introducing this topic. So I was wondering if any of you could talk about specific experiences of your own that you felt like either you developed a lot of soft skills or that was key in recognizing the importance of it.
That's the questions before, right?
I did.
I think one important thing I learned, and I was horrible at when I started grad study, is priorities. So that's very important. When we get deep into the analytical side, we tend sometimes to lose focus. And of course, some of us are luckier than others to have professors that can help them. Some different style of supervision leads to different outcome for students, right? You might have the same supervisor, but two different students being productive at different levels, even though technically they're strong. And it comes down to if the student is able, in my opinion, is able to have the priorities, identify the priorities, what they want to do, what's more important, and so on. So I guess think about priority is it's a killer app, like we say, and that's what I was thinking about it.
Is just some specific examples. Maybe they don't come when you need them, but one thing that I always, I teach building sustainability, computational wind engineering. For example, in building sustainability class, the first thing I did was just create a Google SketchUp manual and asked everybody to reproduce a G+1 house detail design reproduction of whatever they see in that manual before even the course starts. Where I'm heading with that is your ability to communicate with clear schematics, diagrams, your design concept, your ideas is of paramount use, and also even in my courses, I emphasize on project work as opposed to exams and things like that. Of course, different professors have different style, and we need those kind of different styles. For me, why I emphasize on the project, the technical write-up and everything, it's because that's what you are going to see when you go out, So like the appreciation that your technical writing, report writing, project writing, that skill is important, and to give it time, usually, again, by default, looking at myself when I was a student, I rush until I knew new concept, but once I feel I know it, I stop there. No, that's just the beginning, How do you convey that clearly to others, to your professors, to when you write a paper, like in journals, is it something that everybody wants to read, or it's just like to be counting, like really to think your audience and communicate effectively and not complaining, when a professor gives you the 5th correction, the 10th correction, to be honest, my biggest learning moment, one of my learning moment was Ted Statopoulos, the editor of journal Wind Engineering, is my supervisor. He has this pen, very thick pen, pencil, I mean. Then he will write, Then I thought I address everything and I go back. And again, with a lot of scribbles, it comes back, And there was a good friend of mine, no names, he get agitated, No, I did this, and are you kidding me? This is my moment to learn, actually, Like for me, I get fascinated, how even I blame myself, how I didn't think about it, How elegant is his way of expressing and things like that, For me, learning is that moment, You do something, at that moment, somebody tells you a better way of doing it, Is that not what learning is? Otherwise, the information is out there, For you to have that positive appetite about this kind of feedback, the positive criticism, that's what makes you a better person, So be open, be like open to that kind of thing and own it, Then when you do that again and again, at the end, everybody is smart, trust me. Everybody is capable, but you need that practice, that attitude, whether it is writing or whether it is doing beautiful presentations or things like that, okay?
Thank you so much. I wanted to follow up on this point, Girma. This is also another question that actually came up. Especially in academia, I think there's a lot of negativity. This can't be done, or this is not good. I was wondering for the other two, if you had any thoughts on how to overcome challenges and how to stay positive in the face of a lot of challenges that can arise during, I guess, graduate studies.
I don't know if this is answering your question, but I mean, I would say that I think grad studies can be the best time of your life, and then it can be the worst time of your life, because part of research is that you're doing something no one's done before, which is exciting, but it also means that you can hit roadblocks and you fail, and you have to figure out how to deal with that failure and to re-problem solve, use your, critical thinking skills and kind of figure out a different path forward. And that's all what grad studies, at the bottom of it, it's a really important skill that you learn in grad studies. But what it does mean is it means that grad studies can be tough, because you're not, it's just not this clear sailing to get your research done. It's always, sometimes maybe for my students, it's, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, that kind of thing. So, but I think that to deal with that, it's about, understanding that everyone's in the same boat. That's what research is. And also really, leaning on your peers as well for, talking to them about the challenges you've had, so that you understand what challenges other people are going through as well, and they can help you troubleshoot, talking to your supervisor about things. But, and just, recognizing that that's what research is about. And that's what's exciting about research, is we don't have an answer, because it is the first time things have been done, which is why it can be challenging.
That's beautiful, Claire. Yes. By the way, there are 2 types of things that you learn when you are at a graduate level. One is engineering knowledge, the other science knowledge. Engineering knowledge is something that exists, somebody has done it, but you don't know it, and you figure it out. When you are a researcher, you are working on the boundary, you are trying to do something that no one has done it. Then both of them, they require different type of set of skills. Perhaps the second one, when you do research, it requires patience. Do not rush it. Take your time and always accumulate the background information you need to tackle it, and also have a habit of talking about it. I like when Claire she used the word troubleshooting. For me, if you see me, I don't look even I'm working. Now I'm always talking with my student in the coffee shop or my peers. Just I like talking. About my research problem. That's when there's something about it, that triggers so many senses, in you, that really you just hit, oh, that's what it means. Then once you know something and to deliver something, trust me, everybody's capable, but the paths, what is that you want to solve and things like that is important, and have a habit of that, like when there's a graduate seminar opportunity to talk about your research, not only to your peers, even to someone who is not in your field, because that's what you will face. And also, each specialization have certain thing is matured in certain area than the other, Then the moment you talk to a broader audience, most likely somebody will give you a very decent feedback that will push you or pull you from where you are stuck, And also, I don't know how I can twist it a little bit in the tools that you need. Personally, I like to be active computationally and experimentally. I like to be viewed like as a carpenter. A carpenter when they go try to solve a problem, they come with waist full of tools, They don't come with only a hammer or a saw, Until they figure out what problem they are going to deal with it, they come prepared. Then they pick the right tool, So just if you are experimentalist, have appetite to learn computational stuff. If you are computationalist, have appetite to learn to pick some technique on the experiment, Most likely, you need a combination of that. I'm not saying be expert in everything, at least be dangerous enough to communicate with the other, and get help, Okay, thank you.
I guess my advice here is for people doing research mainly than courses, but I would think also tell my students that think about all these failures as opportunities, which again is easy to say, right? But for example, if you have papers try to publish, you get sometimes this is the best work, and you give it one journal, second journalist all reject. Just don't take it personally. That's very important, okay? Don't get frustrated, be patient, as Dr. Girma said, but also every time you have an experiment or you develop an algorithm or something that doesn't work, think about it in a positive way. And that's what I try to tell my students from the beginning. Sometimes they go and then depressed after maybe 1 month, they cannot find the solution. Say, okay, that's good. Let's think about better solution. Of course, it takes time. Myself, I was impatient when I was doing my research at the beginning, but I find it very rewarding to just change a little bit the mentality set. Every time you have a paper rejected, don't get upset at all. Forget about it. Just go out, okay? Think about what the reviewer are trying to say and think about how to turn it to positive outcome. And of course, as Dr. Clare and Dr. Girma said, talk to people. I love when people go to the board students, when I go to the lab and I see them discussing challenges, there will be wonder, because sometimes you're deep into your ideas and you cannot see what's going on, what's the other opportunities. Maybe your colleague or your friend will be able to help you.
Thank you so much. This is fun. So the last question I think I had on skills was one that came up as well is, do you have any tips for how to learn skills that not necessarily taught in a class or in a conference? Any self-learning tips that work best for you or that work best to advise to your students?
Thank you. First, I would say to students, knock on doors of professors. Go online, see what the professor is doing. If it matches your skill you want to learn, let's say you want to learn programming and you're civil, for example, just knock on door and send email to a professor in computer science, ask them. You'll be surprised. Sometimes they answer, okay? Of course, there is, no, seriously. Just try it. I answer students. Sometimes I have, yeah, sometimes. No, I answer students always. I have sometimes people knock on my door from other departments asking me random questions. Just try to give time to them. I think we should be like creating more bridges with students, listening to them. I know things are changing with our different generations. Newer generation, they grew up and Facebook is what exists, not even the internet. We grew up pre-internet. So our perspective a little bit different, but try to be annoying to professors, knock on doors, okay?
Yes. I think universities like Western is a great place actually to pick so many skills. I can give you one concrete example, When I joined Western like some 12 years ago, I really needed high performance computing, Then previously while at FIU, I had tried to run my own cluster and I became babysitter than user, because that's not my skill, Then I learned about SharkNet, It's one of the most documented well, in terms of training, well organized resource available for us. How many of us are we using? Looking forward, the future, we need to be good in computing. Then the training module they have, the technical people we have. Actually, since I joined Western, a place known for experimental wind engineering, even it is a computational research that picked up. Just because I connected with the SharkNet folks. So there are different things. Like, is it the laboratories we have? Is it the computational centers we have? Is it the library resource we have? Like, knock the door. Just look beyond the direct exposure you have within your team. I think that will take you a long way.
I think we'll open. So at this point, I think we'll open the question to the audience again. Any questions on skills or other general questions, since we're coming to the end of the seminar? Yeah, don't be shy. No?
I will ask them a question.
Sorry?
If time returns back, would you select the same career in the academia, or you would try to do something else?
To be honest, if I'm born again, I think I will be a civil engineer again, Yeah, but I would do things a little bit different, I would have picked some skills that I picked later, like, for example, the computing skills and things like that, other than those, I would be civil engineer again,
Thank you. Yes, I would do the same. I think civil engineering is a great domain to be in, and in the future become academia in general. Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you're driven by curiosity, that's the best place to be. If you'd like to do good, also one of the best places to be. Yes.
Before I pass to Claire, actually, you touched something that really triggered me, like driven by curiosity. Yes, I told you I would be civil engineer or academician again. For me, at whatever cost, if I feel I'm learning something, it is worth it. Period. That's the drive I have. Like the reason why I like to be even in an academic environment is to stay closer with the energy, which is you. Like, I draw energy from my students, and I always feel I'm growing younger and younger, although the age clicks, so that that kind of motivation, a desire to know about things, things that we don't know, or things that we do but can be done more efficiently and things like that. That's a drive.
I think I'm growing older and older, but that's just me. But I mean, I would say for people that are self-driven, I mean, for me, I really like academia. I wouldn't change anything. I think it's a great, if you're someone who's self-driven, I mean, it's a incredible job where you're able to pick whatever you want to work on. So let's say I want to start working in the Arctic. All I need to do is write a proposal and find me someone to fund it. Or if I want to start working on my area of research on, Pacific Islands, I just need to write a proposal and figure out what the problem is and how to create it. And there's very few jobs where you kind of have that flexibility to, over your career, just take it in whatever direction you want to take it in. You just need to, find a challenge that someone's willing to fund you to do research in. And it's got, incredible flexibility as well in the way kind of we operate as academics. And then really the key benefit is that we'll get to work with you guys. And as Girma said, you create such great enthusiasm that you bring into our workplace as well. So.
Thanks so much. Any other questions?
Maybe I'll tell them something.
Oh, for sure.
So we were talking to Bengal. We plan to invite the chief engineer from the city of Toronto, civil engineer. And we were planning to invite him last year, but we couldn't. He will come this fall. And the topic of his speech would be very interesting. He said, "I never thought that the future would be as bright for civil engineers as it is now," which is very, very inspiring kind of title. So I plan to invite also undergraduate students. And I saw a report recently. It shows the most 12 jobs in Canada with high demands currently, and civil engineering is definitely one of them. So I think I just want to leave you with this positive note because you are doing graduate studies in civil engineering. And I think the future is very bright in this domain.
Let's give a final round of applause to our panel. Thank you so much for coming. I really enjoyed this discussion.
I saw the questions, I think it's just a slightly different word and I'm like. So it's like a couple of questions, like talk about the time you built the flag in an interview. No, you're not. Sorry about
Put it in my car.
I don't think the civil seminars are in a, they're on a roll now.
Yeah. I was just gonna figure.
It never ends. Yeah.
Yeah.